All right. Yes. Yes. Oh yeah. I have been waiting all week to talk football. All week to talk football. Very excited. Um, no cowboy hat. I literally this is my favorite time of the year. I love the heat, and I have literally 400 mosquito bites, including several on my head. One that looks like a gunshot wound to the back of me. But I love summertime. Very excited, and very excited to talk football today. Very, very excited. I see James and One Pride 40 are in the house. I'm going to double check over on YouTube. YouTube looks good. All right. All right, just as you can see from the ticker below, starting July 7th, I'm going to break down all 32 NFL teams. You don't want to miss this because I'm going to break down the good, the bad, and then the Vegas over-under. And if I am going to put action on that NFL team this year for the over-unders, I have been a consistent winner betting over-unders for the last couple of years. So you do not want to miss these videos. Basically, every Friday I come on, I talk football. I'm going to break down the divisions. And basically, the next couple of weeks, I'm just kind of relaxing, enjoying things. And then July 7th, I'm going to be coming out with videos probably 3 times a week until the season starts, breaking down all 32 NFL teams. Today, I'm going to break down the Julio Jones trade. I'm going to break down some after effects of the Julio Jones trade. And then I'm going to break down the NFC South. I thought that would be a good idea. Let's just jump right into it. Let's just break down what the trade was. I'm going to share my screen here. And let's just kind of break down what happened with the trade and break down some of the after effects of it. One Pride 40 says Titans won the trade easily. Let's break into that, man. This is a good one here. The trade itself is a little one-sided. I'll play devil's advocate here and kind of argue this. Julio Jones in a 2023 6th-round pick for a 2022 second and 2023 4th-round pick. That's what the trade is. Basically a second and a 4th, and then you kick back a 6th. If this looks familiar, it's very similar to the DeAndre Hopkins trade, but this is a player who is past his prime, has some injury issues. I don't really think that the Titans really you're going to see how the changes are made with the Titans, but I don't think this really elevates the Titans to an elite status. Does this trade make them a threat to either the Bills, the Ravens, or the Kansas City Chiefs? The answer is no. Are they getting a player who's significantly better than Corey Davis? Not really. And what happens with the Atlanta Falcons? Well, they did replace him with Kyle Pitts, who's going to take over. Keep in mind, and I always get the two mixed up, but Stephen Ridley was the number 1 receiver on the Falcons, not Julio Jones last year. Julio Jones battled a ton of injuries. So in an effort to help rebuild that defense, they're going to get a 2nd-round pick next year, probably a low 2nd-round pick, and a 2023 4th, not that much. I don't think it's a terrible trade for the Falcons because you do have Ridley, who's exploded and is now the new number 1 receiver. You're also getting some extra salary cap that you need to revamp the defense. Remember, you're going from the cover 3 defense to a multifaceted defense under Dean Pease. Dean Pease came out of retirement. Remember when he left Tennessee, that whole defense completely fell apart. So the Falcons are going to revamp their defense. They completely have to redo it. I'm kind of curious what they're going to do offensively because Arthur Smith's a creative offensive mind, but he's never been a head coach before, but he's got tons of weapons. So as you see here at the trade, I do like what Tennessee did, but I don't think that they're into elite AFC company. As a Chiefs fan, am I like, oh no, I'm scared of the Titans? I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not scared of the Titans at all. If I was a Ravens fan or a Bills fan, am I fearing the Titans? No. But as you can see, this trade has changed some things. The odds for week 1 have changed. It's an extra half point. And then also the over-under went up a half a point, which I thought was very interesting. What you can also see is that before the trade, the Indianapolis Colts were the favored to win the AFC South. Now it's a tie with both teams, and I got a feeling Tennessee's going to keep going up. If you remembered last week, I told you that this was a good bet. If you like Tennessee over 9.5 plus 140, take it. You don't want to take it now because that $100 that would win you $140, well, now you have to bet 130 just to win 100. Do not bet on the Titans now, even though they did improve their team, not enough to rise that extra tier, but is it enough to win the AFC South? It might be. It might be. I don't think they're overwhelming favorites to win this division. I really don't. I think if everything works out with Indianapolis, they're the team to beat. But keep in mind, there's a lot of moving parts. How quick will Wentz pick up to the system? The left tackle spot, that's still a question mark. Kwity Paye, does he replace Justin Houston, become an all-pro right away? So, I mean, there's questions on this division. But today, we're going to talk about the NFC South. So I just kind of wanted to talk about the trade a little bit, break down a second and a fourth, kickback of the sixth. I really don't agree that the Titans got some steal because this is not Julio Jones from 5 years ago. You're not getting the best receiver in football. You're getting a guy who's injury prone, became the number 2 receiver on the Falcons, is going to be the number 2 receiver here. Is he going to be a significant upgrade over Corey Davis? I'm not really sure. Corey Davis played pretty damn good last year. Got a lot of money from the Jets. Is Julio Jones going to be a significant upgrade over how Corey Davis played last year in a contract year? Maybe. But he's got to stay healthy, and that's a big if. So, Mike, what is up, brother, man? Mike, do me a favor. Tell Pete I said hello and I miss him. I know that once football season starts, I'm going to do a show on Wednesday and Friday, and I think that'll work a lot better for Pete. But tell Pete I said hello. I don't think it was the second round pick. It's probably going to be a low second round pick. It's probably going to be in the 50s, maybe 60s. I don't think it's going to be in 60s, but I think it'll be in the 50s. And keep in mind, your question if the Falcons do have a plan. The answer is yes. And then you're asking, are they rebuilding or when? Right now, it's a rebuild phase. And the reason why is that because Matt Ryan's a pocket passer, he could still play for several years and play an extremely high level. You got Kyle Pitts, who has a world of potential. You already have a number 1 wide receiver. You got Hayden Hurst in free agency last year. You rolled the dice with Todd Gurley. It didn't work, and that's okay. The offensive line situation's all right, but defensively, they were garbage last year. So what do? You bring in the best possible defensive coordinator, a guy you worked with in Tennessee. Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator in Tennessee. He brings Dean Pease out of retirement. If you don't know what a good coordinator Dean Pease is, look at Tennessee last year. Tennessee was one of the worst defenses you'll ever see last year. But 2 years ago when Dean Pease was there, they're actually a good defense. Now they are switching schemes. So they're going from a cover 3 to a multifaceted 3-4 scheme. It's going to be a big transition. And it's going to be difficult. To answer your question, it is rebuild, but I think it's going to be a fast rebuild. And I'll go into a little more detail. I'm going to get some of these though. I'm here, Funk. You know, Funk, I'm so happy to see you, man. I'm here. I made it, in the words of Dan Burr, Detroit in the goddamn. That's awesome. That's awesome. That is awesome. By the way, next, no. I think, you know what? I think next week we'll do the AFC North. since we're doing the NFC, I'll go back and forth. But we'll talk. Don't worry, we're gonna talk Lions soon. This could be enough to win as long as they can run the ball, run the rock, as well as they did last year, and try to force Jones the ball. If he can stay healthy, Jones will help them win. I do agree, but are they going to be able to overtake Kansas City? Are they going to be able to overtake Buffalo? Are they better than Baltimore? I know they beat them last year in the playoffs, but I mean, the three big teams in AFC, I think, are Kansas City, Baltimore, and Buffalo. And if you feel like I'm overlooking Cleveland, I don't consider them a big dog yet. Yes, I know they did a good job in the playoffs last year. Pittsburgh's an interesting case also, but I really think the three big dogs in the AFC are Kansas City, Buffalo, and I would throw Baltimore in that mix. I think those are the big three. Do I think Tennessee could they be number 4? I think it's a coin flip between them and the Colts. I still think it's a coin flip. I don't think this trade impacts the Titans as much as people think. Corey Davis played pretty damn good last year. A.J. Brown's still your number 1 guy. The question is, and if you've been watching football as long as I have, and there's a lot of older football fans like myself, they know that big running backs don't last long. Is Derrick Henry going to put up 2,000 next year? Probably not. He's probably not. It's pretty safe to say he's on a limited shelf life. He really is. I mean, look at the running back he's most like, and that would be Eddie George. Eddie George had that great season, and just boom. Does Derrick Henry fall off the cliff this year? Next year? Can you get him healthy for the playoffs? That's what you got to worry about. So, but is he good enough to help win? The answer is yes. But I don't think that they're a threat to the big dogs in the AFC. I really don't. But you know, Drew, any given Sunday. If it's a rebuild, why don't you draft? Okay, here's why you don't draft a quarterback. Because number 1, you have Matt Ryan, a pocket passer who really has played really, really good, and he can still be the quarterback for the next 3 to 5 years. Are they going to draft a quarterback maybe next year? Maybe. There's definitely a possibility Atlanta's going to draft a quarterback soon. And one thing about Arthur Smith is that he used Ryan Tannehill's running ability quite a bit. So I remember in my mock draft, I thought Trey Lance would be perfect because Trey Lance could learn from Matt Ryan for a couple years and not be thrust into a position where he would need to start. And I thought that would have been perfect. I think you overtake Pitts. Apparently what the deal was in Atlanta, the coach wanted Pitts, the GM wanted quarterback. And, could they have gone Justin Fields? They could have, but they didn't want to. Do I think Atlanta is rebuilding? The answer is yes, but why don't you take quarterback? Because Matt Ryan played at a very high level. He's still a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. And he could still play for 3 to 5 years. And I don't think this is a complete rebuild because the defense was already garbage. So switching schemes around isn't really going to hurt as much as it would a team just totally trashing a new system like a Dallas did last year. Dallas switched schemes and they were one of the worst defenses in football. Well, you already were one of the worst defenses in football, but now you're rebuilding and retooling with a multifaceted scheme, and Dean Pease is a world-class coordinator. Mike Nolan for Dallas, he was in retirement for a couple of years. It's a little different because Mike Nolan, even though there are similarities between Nolan and Dean Pease was only out for 1 year. All right. So I think that even though Atlanta is retooling their defense, I think that they'll do it a lot faster and a little better. I'm telling you right now, Atlanta's not going to have a good defense. Okay. Let's be clear. This is not going to be a good defense, but it's going to be better than the 35th ranked defense of the Dallas Cowboys last year. So it just doesn't make sense. Okay. You're rebuilding with everything, but remember, your quarterback can still play for another 3 to 5 years. He's a pocket passer who's playing at a very high level. And here's another thing. Let's say you want to draft a quarterback. You can trade Matt Ryan and get a second, maybe a third. It doesn't matter because you're still getting the extra draft pick. So you'll have draft capital in next year's draft if you do want to take a quarterback next year. Team owners don't like the word rebuild. It's not, no, you, James, 100% correct, brother. The Atlanta Falcons are going to try to do a fast rebuild, but are they rebuilding? The answer is yes. You're changing your cover 3 scheme to a multifaceted 3-4. They're completely different ends of the spectrum. Arthur Smith is a first-year head coach who's going to implement his game plan. Now, in Tennessee, where he came from, he used look at their last 2 quarterbacks, Marcus Mariota and Ryan Tannehill. These are mobile quarterbacks with a lot of running ability. That is the complete opposite of Matt Ryan. So you're going to have some changes. You're going to have some things that are a little different, but you're still rebuilding. I think that if you're going to build around Matt Ryan, you got the weapons. You got number 1 wide receiver. You got Kyle Pitts. You have a good offensive line. The only thing the Atlanta Falcons have really needed over the last couple of years is the defense. Now they get a good coordinator. It's just that you need some more pieces. You need some more pieces. And look at the division that you're in. You have 2 playoff teams in the Saints and Tampa Bay, and I cannot emphasize this enough, and I'll touch it based on this. I'm still surprised. I'm a Chiefs fan, and I'm still surprised that the number 1 team favored to win the Super Bowl is the Kansas City Chiefs. It should be Tampa Bay. I'm a Chiefs fan, and I'm telling you, Tampa Bay is the number 1 team in the NFL right now. They're better than my Chiefs. There's all sorts of question marks about the Chiefs. There's not any question marks about Tampa Bay. They went 7-5. Lost to Kansas City, and then they didn't lose again. And they kept on getting better and better and better. And then what they do in the offseason, they didn't lose anybody. Giovanni Bernard, that's an excellent tool because Ron Jones hasn't been able to stay healthy. Leonard Fournette, if healthy, is the best running back on the team, but he really only excelled in the playoffs. It doesn't matter because all you need him for is the playoffs because you're definitely going back. Antonio Brown's coming back. Oh, don't forget about O.J. Howard. Does anybody remember what a freak of nature that dude was? He went down in week 4, and they were raving about this kid. Tampa Bay is, in my opinion, the best team in football. They won the Super Bowl by 22 points, and they're better. They're loaded. All right. QB should be the last guy on your rebuild besides Matty Ice. Matt Funk, why are we agreeing on almost everything? This is getting weird. This is getting weird that we're agreeing on everything here. Is there something in my coffee? By the way, I am 71% sure I'm not on drugs. I'm going to drink coffee and then energy drink. I lost my place. Yeah, it's retool, and the Falcons are definitely retooling. And I'm gonna go. We're gonna break this down here. I just kind of want to show this here. Tampa Bay, by the way, if you're not familiar with sports betting, you have to wager $200 to win $100. Tampa Bay is an overwhelming favorite to win the division, even though the Saints have won the division several years in a row. We'll talk about this a little more. A lot of people are going to look at this as very lazy, but yeah, I only gave 3 C's, but all of them were to Carolina, the Saints, and Tampa Bay. I gave C's all for different reasons. Okay. Carolina, taking Horn over Surtain was a big question mark. However, the rest of the draft was really, really good. I'm kind of regretting this a little bit. I'm kind of thinking maybe I should give them a higher grade. And then also they went into the draft with Horn as their number 1 rated corner, not Surtain, what everybody else has. That's why I kind of dinged them down. The Saints, the player that they drafted, I'm drawing a blank on his name, from Houston. I really like the kid. Little rich, but he'll work for what their scheme is. The problem is They already have two really good starting defensive ends, so it's not really the player. It's just that, hey, you're either banking on Hayward not playing up to snuff, or all the trade capital you traded for to get Davenport isn't going to work out. But then that's kind of what it looks like. It kind of looks like you're planning on moving on from Davenport. So, and then Tampa Bay, just they don't need anything. They literally don't need anything. So, hey, they don't need anything. So, hey, let's just have an average draft. Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. James, so nice. Nice. I'm so tired of hearing people make the argument between the two. Oh, yeah. In fact, the Falcons didn't get a current player back, sends a bad message to the team. You have a really good point, Mike. Now, the only reason I'm not really up in arms about this is because Pitts is going to replace Julio Jones, and they need multiple draft picks and they need multiple players. And keep in mind, Dean Pease coached both in Baltimore and Tennessee. During this offseason, there's going to be former players that played for Dean Pease that are going to go to the Atlanta Falcons. I think that you're going to see several starters, new starters come during the course of the season. There could even be some midseason trades. But there's a lot of retooling that's going to work on that defense. But the thing is, though, is I think this is going to be a fast rebuild. I think it's going to be really bad this year. They could be really good next year because there are some really good players on this defense. And I think Dean Pease I think he's a world-class defensive coordinator. And I think that they're going to do some good things. I think that there's no way I see them, surpassing either one of these teams. 100% agree with you, Mike. Matt Ryan could walk away from football today and he will walk into Canton. Very underrated. And what the thing is, though, is the last couple of years he's played at an exceptionally high level. He's been a really good quarterback the last couple of years. He actually almost hit 5,000 yards in the last two seasons, even though the team's been terrible. Besides, who was Atlanta going to take? Oh God, that's a good one, Falk. That's a good one. Oh man, there's some good shit here today. I do, but I like the top three more, and I loved Pitts. I also liked Pitts too. So, and Cam Newton gave Mac Jones a nickname Mac and Cheese. That's actually kind of funny. I actually like that. Yes, retooled. Yes, and they are rebuilding. They're saying retooling, but the Falcons are rebuilding. Falcons O-line. It's not terrible. It's not terrible. Exactly. Detroit Pistons GM Joey Weir said he's going to restore the Pistons. I don't follow basketball. I'm assuming the Pistons are bad then. Denver Gator, what is up, brother? Sorry, I'm late for my weekly therapy. Man, listen, man, I'm glad you're here. I'm 71% sure I am not on drugs. I got an energy drink here and coffee here. I'm mixing them together. I'm jacked up. It's going to be a great show. We all agree that the Atlanta Falcons won the Julio Jones trade. That's what it is. And the rebuild starts by drafting the quarterback or start building from the trenches. Not really. Okay. Normally you're right, but what Atlanta's doing is different. Okay. You had two main components. You have Matt Ryan, Julio Jones. You replace Jones with Pitts, and now you're fixing that garbage defense. All right. Go back to losing the Super Bowl. All from Dan Quinn's defense. All right. Look, you give up a 25-point lead in the second half. You look at the defense. Could the offense have done some things different? Sure. But look at the defense. The defense for Atlanta has been terrible. The offense has been fine. So you got your replacement in Julio Jones. Now you're scrapping your original cover 3 defense. Okay. The cover 3 defense, for those of you that don't know, the cover 3 defense is basically the simplest defense in the NFL. All right, the Y9 variation that they're going to run in San Francisco and in New York, the New York Jets, that's probably the easiest defense. That's just a variation of cover 3. What Dean Pease is going to implement is a multifaceted defensive scheme, which is extremely complicated. It's built off confusion and pressure from all sorts of angles. All right. I mean, you'll have 2 players rushing the quarterback on one play. Next play will be 6. The cover 3 that they ran, it's always 4, occasional blitzes. It's so different and multifaceted. And you don't have the personnel. There's really, you got Grady Jarrett and you got AJ Terrell. Those are your 2 players. The other 9 starters are, you could throw players out and just put in 9 new starters. That's why the rebuild's a little different. But Dean Pease is a well-respected, well-liked coach, and you already see Atlanta's trying to get additional players in already. So the rebuild's going to be faster. And the defense was already garbage to begin with. So you're going from a bad defense to a slightly worse defense, but it's going to get better as the year goes around. You already have your Hall of Fame quarterback. All right. You have your number 1 wide receiver in Ridley. You got Kyle Pitts, unlimited potential, and a very creative offensive mind. So the rebuild process with the Atlanta Falcons isn't trenches and quarterback. It's Julio Jones and defense. And I don't have a problem with that. I hated this, Mike. And by the way, Lions fans can chime in on this. He belongs in the Hall of Fame. Whether he makes the Hall of Fame or not, sometimes it's a popularity contest. I'll argue there's several players I could argue deserve to be in the Hall of Fame that haven't been in the Hall of Fame. Right now, the number 1 player is Cliff Branch. But yeah, Sue's back. The defense is loaded. The offense is loaded. There's everything to like about Tampa Bay. I mean, Tampa Bay is just phenomenal. Yeah, Pitts could there could be a stud. Then what are the Lions? The Lions are rebuilding, and they're already bad, and they're rebuilding. That's why if anybody tells you that they're going to win 9 games this year, they're drinking the Kool-Aid. They're rebuilding, and they were already bad. So. But the difference is that there's really no difference. What Atlanta's doing, what Detroit's doing is basically the same thing. All right? It's basically the same exact thing. You're just doing it slightly different. With the Lions, you're building in the trenches, and I like what they're doing. They're building inside out. What the Falcons are doing is just building all 11 on defense. All right? And that's sort of kind of what you're doing in Detroit, except Detroit looks like you're focusing more on the front 7, which you need to do because you're going from a 3-4 to more of a 4-3. Same thing that you're doing in Atlanta, except it's just a reciprocal of it is that you had a 4-3 defense. Now you're going to a 3-4 defense. Same process. Here's where the big difference is. Detroit has starters now. Atlanta doesn't. That's why they're trying to get those draft picks, and you're going to see a lot of free agent moves. So it's the same thing. Same exact thing. Denver, LOL, welcome to I'm not on drugs, fuck. If the Falcons are they're rebuilding. They are 100% rebuilding. I have to be honest, I'm not sold on Rashad Perryman. His history is dropping balls exactly what he's doing in camp. You can't count on Perryman. All right. You can't count on Perryman. Athleticism's off the chart, but that's what he's always done. There's the wide receiver talent in Detroit is really bad, but that's okay. There's going to be more changes. The one thing I can personally vouch for is my first brain freeze. It won't be my last is your assistant general manager, who is the GM here in Kansas City, John Dorsey. Okay, I'm sorry. The one thing I can vouch for is John Dorsey will keep that wheel of personnel going. So don't worry. Chuck Gator's in the house. Sorry, I'm late to my weekly anonymous meeting. Hi, I'm Gator. I love it. I might actually steal that, man. I actually might steal that because, I'm addicted. But it's the only thing I do. I don't even know what's going on in basketball and baseball, and I think there's some other things going. We all know Mike. Mike's a diehard baseball fan. That's fine. I know when the regular season comes, he's going to be here all the time. Mike, I still can't believe Sue was let leave Detroit and then LA. I thought he was really important with the Rams. Extremely underrated with the Rams. Very underrated with the Rams. A big reason why they got to the Super Bowl was Sue, and a big part of Aaron Donald's success was in part to Sue. And Sue took a lot of the double teams, and he didn't mind doing that. I love Sue. I as far as a Chiefs fan, I'm sad that he returned to Tampa Bay, but as a football fan, I love it. I there's nothing wrong with Tampa Bay being awesome. That's kind of what we're looking at right now. I'm going to go over this in detail here, but I'm going to answer a few of these. Yeah, he's been great. He belongs in the Hall of Fame. The guy I like is Victor Bolden. Bolden can fly. He has to make this team. Don't know too much about him yet, but I'll keep watching. Chuck, I'm not on drugs, Funk. Mike, he wasn't bad in Miami, just in that part of his career, which is better than most people. That is true. That is true. I think the casual fan doesn't realize how good Ndamukong Suh was. There's a lot of people at Nebraska that still swear up and down he should have won Heisman. It's debatable. One funky Lions fan, I think he was. Yeah, he was. He was constantly double teamed in the Rams too. The difference is that Donald ended up benefiting, getting over 20 sacks, so it was awesome. Chuck Gator's my Denver Gator. All that kind of sounds less crazy. You have as many personalities as you want, Denver Gator. I'm just glad you're in the house, man. Sorry, I just disagree. I do like Pitts, but I'm questioning directions of the Falcons as they're rebuilding or trying to get one last go with Ryan and Julio. I think that what happened was they were going to rebuild this year when they had that 1-7 start, but then once Dan Quinn turned things around and they ended the season on a really good note, the 2020 season was going to be the Falcons' last go. And then they started off, 0-5? And then they, hey, look, it's not going to work. We're going to go ahead and just rebuild completely. And what they decided to do was keep Ryan, let Julio go. So I think 2020 was the one last go. And if you remember, there was talk Dan Quinn was going to lose his job. They're going to rebuild the team. They're going to fire everybody. Matt Ryan and Julio Jones were going to be gone before last year, but then Dan Quinn turned it around. I think they finished, 5-2 or something like that. So they gave him a shot, and then they started off the season 0-5, and Arthur Jones just got rid of everybody, I think in October. And so that's the situation. They had their one last chance. If you remember 2 years ago, a lot of people thought this was going to be a playoff caliber team. This is a team. Remember, they went all in free agency. They got Todd Gurley. They got Hayden Hurst. They got Vic Beasley. There's somebody else, a big name. And they were supposed to do really good, and it just fell apart. Dan Quinn's now the defensive coordinator in Dallas, and Atlanta is going to start the rebuild process. And I think it's going to be fast because Matt Ryan, there's no reason Matt Ryan can't play for another 3 to 5 years. There's no reason. His play has not dropped. It's not like Drew Brees this year, where Drew Brees' play, you could just see free fall. You're not seeing that Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan still has the fastball. Matt Ryan doesn't run at all. Matt Ryan has weapons. There's everything I like about the Atlanta Falcons. The problem is that they're not in the right division. What about 7? You're talking about 7 wins for the Detroit Lions. We'll talk about that when I break down the NFC North. Right now, the over-under is 5, and I think that's fair. Me and Chuck are 100% sure. So wait, I am. Yes. If you're not aware, this is the rookie wide receiver out of USC who, I actually thought he would go in the second round. Then the Lions got him in the fourth. So, One Pride 40. I think the Falcons expect to make a run within Matt Ryan's window, but I expect them. I agree with this, Mike. I really agree with this. Is that what they're going to do? Is this is kind of a fast rebuild, and what they're going to do is that they're going to rebuild the same exact way. All right, they're going to try to get an average defense, a really good offense, and they're going to try to go ahead and get to the Super Bowl that way. You have an offensive-minded coach. He brought in the best available defensive mind, a guy he worked with in Tennessee. So yeah, and Matt Ryan's window is still pretty wide open. I mean, 3 to 5 years is not out of the realm of expectations for Matt Ryan's career because his play hasn't dipped. His play hasn't dipped at all. If anything, it's still increasing, even though he was an MVP, what was the year, 2016, 2017? He's still playing at a very, very high level, extremely high level. But yeah, are they going to? Well, we'll talk about this here in just a bit. I don't think Fontenot has a plan. Dan, we are going to run a Don Capers style 3-4 blitz heavy zone concept. Flowers and Romeo Okwara are supposed to be the two outside linebackers in the base package. Really? You know, that actually makes a lot more sense than running the 4-3 system that they ran in New Orleans, which is what I was expecting. In that case, you should have kept Danny Shelton. I don't know who's your zero technique. And then who do you got playing at the ends? Then what are you going to do with Flowers? Is he going to play? Flowers. I'm sorry. Flowers is going to be an outside linebacker. That actually makes more sense than going with the 4-3 scheme that they played in New Orleans. Personally, I would go with the 4-3 scheme they ran in New Orleans because you have so much coaching and so much success with the Saints. But if you're going to go that scheme and it's going to be a Don Capers scheme, then Don Capers should have been the defensive coordinator, not Glenn. So you hired a guy as defensive coordinator who's running a completely different scheme than what he's used to. But I will something to watch in preseason. So me too. I like Victor Bolden a lot. He's a slot. I haven't had a chance to watch him play, obviously, but during preseason, I am going to pay a lot of attention to the Detroit Lions. Donald's best season. Exactly. And then the numbers garnish attention. So Matt Ryan is 36. Mike, welcome, brother. Mike, I'm ditching the hat because I wore it a couple weeks ago. My head was too big. I think it's all the hair. And currently, I've been going for lots of walks outside. And I am basically like mosquito cocaine. I have literally mosquito bites all over my I literally have 5 mosquito bumps like on my head. It's everything I can do not to itch. And I have one on the back of my calf. It looks like a gunshot wound. I'm not joking. It's like this big. So I'm going without the hat for a little bit. I don't know. I might do the hat when I bring back my my videos, but currently hatless. Yeah, I did spit a little bit. I'm jacked up. That's why. 36. Yeah. Holmes over Fontenot. That's interesting. Too early to tell. How about Gurley trying to choose between the Ravens and Lions? You guys want Gurley back with Goff. He may have a huge year in the Ravens offense. Well, I can tell you this is that in a perfect world, the Ravens don't want him to have a huge year. The former Ohio State running back, they love this kid. Drawing a complete blank on the guy's name. Our second round pick out of Ohio State. Loved him last year. And he's the guy that the Ravens are really counting on. And when I do a show on fantasy football, I'm drawing a complete blank on the guy's name. When I do a show on fantasy football, this kid's going to have a huge year. They basically want him to replace the Mark Ingram role, which is second running back on the team. Not nearly. They're not asking him to be old Todd Gurley. They just want him to help contribute because I'm drawing a complete blank on that guy. But he's going to be good. Going to be good. Matty Ice to Denver in 2020. Yeah. That's not really bad because if you keep your coordinator, oh God, the former head coach of the New York Giants, and I'm drawing a clue. If you keep that coordinator and things don't work with Locke, Matt Ryan would be perfect there. Actually, that's not bad at all. The bad news is if this happens, the Drew Lock thing doesn't work. So yeah, his contract, he's probably asking. He may not be. He may just be trying to win a ring. But all McNeil going to be okay. All right. Yeah, I know. I had to adjust my brightness. McNeil and nose tackle, Levy and Brockers at DTDN. Don Capers is the defensive advisor. Don't forget Spielman played in a 3-4 and he had a big say in who Lions hired this year. If you're going to use Levi as a nose tackle, and if you're going to use him in the nickel package, but he's a 4-3 guy all day long. I wouldn't want to use him anywhere in a 3-4 defense. McNeil, he's the other guy out of NC State. He's actually he'd have to bulk up to play in a 3-4. So that would have to if you're planning on using a 3-4, I would have to revisit my Detroit Lions grade because they got a couple 4-3 defensive tackles. That's kind of what I see, but I'd have to see this because you drafted 4-3 tackles. These are classic 4-3 tackles. These aren't guys that can play in a 3-4, especially Levi. Levi doesn't fit in a 3-4 defense at all. And if you're wanting him to play tackle, I think he weighed in at his pro day at like 290. I mean, I'd have to see it, but that would really kind of make me think that the Lions are really, really confused. That's just my opinion, but Buffalo. Good evening, everyone. So of all the offseason trades, which one had the best one? And also, you're not new. Okay, no, he can't play nose. Offseason trades, who had the best one? And that is a tough one. God, all the trades, who had the best one? I would just bam right off the hip. I would say Minnesota in the draft because they gave the Jets. They are getting the Jets' first round pick next year, and I don't see the Jets really doing much. I think who's the trade that trade? Who was the team again that traded? It was Miami. Miami traded with San Francisco. Kind of a tie between Miami and Minnesota in both those draft trades because Miami's going to get a ton of draft picks, and I think San Francisco is going to be a disaster. But the Jets are giving up a first round pick so they can add to their offensive line, and they're not ready to compete in AFC East. So Minnesota is going to get some really good draft capital in next year's draft, and I also think Minnesota is a team that I'm really looking at and saying, wow. Those draft trades off the top of my head are probably the best ones. Dobbins, yes, Dobbins. I love the guy. And Shermer, he was here's the deal. This is the one thing about Denver is I don't think Shermer's the right guy to be the offensive coordinator because he wants to run kind of an old school offense. And look at all the youth you got. I would run more of a college style scheme, get a lot of receivers, a lot of motion. And you got to understand, KJ Hamler, he's not really a wide receiver. He's not really a running back. He's kind of a return specialist guy. I'm not sure Shermer's creative enough to really use him. And then, all the other talent that you have is a young, talented team. I'm not sure Shermer's the right guy, but yeah, J.K. Dobbins, that's the guy I was drawing a complete blank on. He should have a massive year for the Ravens. I mean, he could. I'm seriously 1,500 rushing yards alone. He could have 1,800, maybe even 2,000, a dozen touchdowns. Take him early on your fantasy team. Levi's a 3-tech this year. That's what he needs to be. He needs to be a 3-tech, but in a 3-4 defense, they don't really have 3-tech. So it'll be interesting to see what they're doing. I picture it more like a 5-2 with 2 DNs that will be standing up, so it'll create one-on-ones across the line, leaving the 2 inside linebackers in a soft zone so they can just react and make plays. Okay, so you're picturing basically like a 4-2-5. A little creativity along the defensive front, which is a Don Capers signature. And I like that, but then why not have Don Capers instead of Aaron Glenn? You don't think Levi can't play the 3-tech, though? No. He can play the 3. He can't play a 5. In the 3-4 defense, he can't play a 0. And he's not a 5 technique guy. He's a 3-tech. So that's where he needs to play. But if you're running a 3-4 defense, they really don't have a 3-tech. So, all right, so we're arguing about this. So let me break this down. Over-unders for the year, Tampa Bay's at 11.5, which is surprising because Kansas City's at 12.5. So this is really a very low number. And as you can see, people are taking advantage of it. If you're not familiar with sports betting, a $100 wager will be negative 125, which this means you have to wager 125 to win 100. Here, at a positive number means a $100 wager will win you 105. You have to count on injuries to bet this. I'm on the Tampa Bay bandwagon. I think that they are the best team in the NFL. I think they're better currently than my Chiefs. If you want to bet against Tampa Bay, you're betting on injuries. So that's kind of what you think. I love this number right here. I think the Saints are a very underrated and dangerous team. And when I start breaking down the teams, the one thing is that when Drew Brees hasn't started over the last 2 years, the Saints team was very, very good. So people that think that the Saints are not going to be a good football team, I would watch out because I think this is going to be a very dangerous team. Remember, the Saints won this division. They choked in the playoffs because Drew Brees couldn't throw the ball more than 10 yards downfield. Tampa Bay put 10 in the box, said, hey, look, beat us one-on-one, and they weren't able to do it. But Tampa Bay did the Saints did sweep Tampa Bay in the playoffs, so watch out for the Saints. I'm kind of surprised this number's this high. To tell you the truth. And another thing is that I'm also surprised Carolina is below the Saints, but I think both these numbers are really high. I'm kind of surprised on both of them. As you can see, the Atlanta Falcons, people are really high on the Falcons. So that's kind of surprising to me. And as you can see here, Atlanta's predicted to do better than the Carolina Panthers. You have a brand new scheme in Atlanta. You have something in Carolina building up. So I'm a little surprised about that. Week 1 matchups. Dallas. By the way, this is to kick off the NFL schedule. It's kind of funny because me and Mike had the same exact score, 31-13. We're both really high on Tampa Bay this week 1 matchup. This will be played on Thursday. This will be the game that kicks off the NFL season. It's been steady at 6.5. I could have sworn it was 51, so the over-under may be going up. It makes sense that it would go up. I would not touch the over-under because Tampa Bay's defense is very, very good. With Dallas changing schemes, there's so many question marks. But even though 6.5 is a very, very, very high number, I actually do like Tampa Bay. And Philly at Atlanta. Philly is a 3.5-point dog at Atlanta. Both teams' rookie head coaches. I would not bet this game. And the Jets are going to be a 4-point dog playing at Carolina. Sam Darnold gets to play his old team. This is actually a game between two teams that aren't very good, but I am excited to watch this. I kind of want to see how Wilson plays in his first game. It's going to be interesting because he's going to be playing against a college-type defense, a game that he may be a little more prepared for than people think. Darnold has the revenge factor. And I am very, very surprised with all the Aaron Rodgers talk that this number has not changed. So I'm going to read some of your comments. We'll talk a little bit, and then I am going to offer you my very best bets on the NFC South. So not putting defensive ends in the coverage is where I ended. Shermer's very old school vanilla. Definitely need a high-flying, offensive-minded offensive coordinator just to keep in our division. I couldn't say it better myself, and that's the problem is that the Denver Broncos offensive skill position talent is awesome. It's just awesome, and it just seems like Shermer's really slowing it down. Keep in mind that if it doesn't work, you'll probably get rid of Locke, which I think would be a mistake. However, if you keep Shermer, Matt Ryan would be a much better fit. Matt Ryan would be a much better fit. Now, keep in mind, he's not really known for his bootleg ability, which is something Shermer likes to do. But, yeah, I couldn't have said this any better myself. If you got an aggressive, offensive-minded coach to go with an old-school defensive-minded head coach, and you counterbalance each other, because if I'm Denver, I don't have a problem with taking some chances because I have this really good defense that I'm building on the other side. Plus, look at your division. I got to find a way to beat Kansas City, which I haven't done in years. And what do they have? They have a high-flying offense. So I like the fact that when you hired Fangio, you're going to do just the opposite. You're going to build a great defense, and you got a bunch of offensive skill positional players. I'll get that sentence out. And then what do? You hire an old school coach. Could it work? Yeah, it could work. The running back that you got on North Carolina, that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. But it wouldn't surprise me if the offense is kind of stuck in neutral. Shermer is going to have to open up the repertoire. He's going to have to change a lot of things offensively, because if he doesn't, it's going to be a disaster. And there's so much talent in Denver. So much talent in Denver. As a Chiefs fan, I'm hoping he screws things up. If I was a Denver fan, I'm like, man, get creative, take the reins off, go for broke, because if you are going to play conservative, you can get to like 9-10 wins. Are you going to compete with Kansas City? No. The way I see it is Aaron Glenn is better with DBs, and he was due his come up. Well, I think Dom is looking to take a less demanding role. I agree, and one of your comments is I agree with this, and I'm going to go over one Pride's comments, and then I'm going to answer your question. So, they do have a 3-tech. Is the 3-4 technique is on the guard tackle. That's actually a 1. But I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's not really. But I get why you're saying that. Funk, there's a reason why Todd Walsh is here and Glenn played it. Okay, I'm going to get back to this. Number one, Glenn coached in New Orleans where they ran a 4-3 system. Your head coach came from New Orleans where they ran a 4-3 system. So you're bringing everything from the Saints to Detroit. So it makes sense that you're going to run a similar type scheme. Look at the quarterback. You got a pocket passer in Drew Brees. You bring in a pocket passer, very similar, except much younger, that you had with New Orleans. So it makes sense that you're going to run a 4-3. And it makes sense that you bring in experienced position coaches to help out with a rookie coordinator to help him adjust. Now, Aaron Glenn is on the fast track. If he does a pretty good job here with Detroit, he is going to get a head coaching opportunity soon. However, if you're asking him, hey, look, we know you've coached the last several years in a 4-3. Come to Detroit, run something completely different. That's going to cause problems. And did he play in a 3-4? You know what? I don't know this, but I do know this. He played in the 90s. He played in the 90s. The fake spike, Dan Marino fake spike game was against Aaron Glenn. He was the corner he picked on. He was the rookie corner out of Texas A&M. Aaron Glenn played a long time ago. He's coached in a 4-3. That is not good if you're bringing in a coach who coached in a 4-3, then you want him to go to a 3-4. If you hire a defensive coordinator, but you don't let him coach the scheme that he's coached in, but previously, that's not good. So, like, what you're saying is like, oh, yeah, hey, look, we drafted 4-3 players. We brought in a 3-4 coach. Now we're going to run a 3-4. Really? But anyway. Atlanta and Carolina are great for the unders. Winston will surprise and mature this year. A Denver Gator, I 100% agree. I would take the unders on both Carolina and Atlanta. And I think Winston is going to be the starter, and I think he's going to add something to this offense because what do you got? You got one of the best running backs in football. You got another really good running back. You have a great offensive line. You have Michael Thomas, who's one of the best intermediate and short route runners in the league. Now you got this giant arm, and you can now go downfield, which you haven't been able to do. Now, are you going to get that 75 to 70% completion percentage with Winston? No, you're not. But don't forget, Winston was a pretty damn good quarterback, and he did have some problems, but there's no question the talent is there. I mean, the talent is there. All right. It's not like you're taking some guy who's just a bum. No, you're talking about one of the more talented quarterbacks in the league who just had a problem with maturity. And the one thing I have to admit, I really stood out was that it would have been very easy for Winston to say, here, I'm only here for a year. I'm here as a backup. I am talented enough to be an NFL starter, so I'm going to sulk. I never saw him sulk. I saw him sitting next to Breeze. I saw him talking to teammates. I saw him energized. I saw him energetic. I saw him like every time you saw him in the locker room, he had a smile on his face. It was infectious, and it caused the Saints to want to re-sign him. So he's going into a system that he is familiar with. The Saints are a scary team, folks. Denver Gators got it right. Pride, I never said we would, but here's what's funny. I don't really see us using DNs, but Flowers and Okora will occasionally fall out into the flats. No, I see that. I completely see that. It doesn't matter if you're running a 4-3 or a 3-4. You could definitely have them going out to the flats, even in a 4-3 defense where Flowers and Okora would basically play on the ends. You could easily have them just take a step back and kind of confuse teams. You could definitely do that. That's also a staple of the zone blitz, which I do expect to see on occasion. It wouldn't surprise me whether you run a 3-4 or a 4-3 to have your defensive ends step back and have a linebacker try to shoot into the gap. I'm not saying that they're going to do the same exact thing as you ran in New Orleans, but you drafted players like you're going to run the same type of defense. You brought in, the head coach and defensive coordinator. So it seemed like, hey, look, we're going to run the same thing that we did in New Orleans. The Saints over the last several years have been highly successful. No, they haven't won a Super Bowl though. They're basically edge rusher. Yes, that we can agree on. Flowers and Okora are going to be outside linebackers. Okay. It's got to work. In 3-4, those better be your edge rushers, okay? Don Capers is here to help Aaron Glenn played in the 3-4. Again, you can't take what Aaron Glenn did 20-something years ago. You got to take what he did as a coach. What he did as a player and what he did as a coach are two separate things. What he did as a player helps him relate to players, but what kind of a coaching scheme is he in? So Don Capers is helping Aaron Glenn coach a 3-4 defense. That's great. It's not what he did with the Saints. So that's really bad. Pride, yes, that is what they will do. Remember, teams like to flip things like the previous head coach with new hires and Patricia never blitzed. That is one thing. The Saints didn't do a lot of blitzing. That's one thing that they did quite a bit. I think you're wrong, though. That's the best part about this show is that I don't always have to be right. I'm going to pull for your Lions. I'm just offering my opinion as an outside observer. It looks like from your draft and from your hires, you're going to run a 4-3. Now you're telling me they're going to run a 3-4, and that would kind of bother me. So what if the Lions win 7 games? I actually think 7 games would be exceptional. I really do. And the reason why, and we're going to talk about the NFC North in a few weeks. I think I'll do the AFC North next week, go back and forth. But, 7 games would be very, very good. If I'm a fan of the Detroit Lions, let's say I'm a Detroit Lions fan, and my Lions next year goes 7-10, I'm very, very, very happy. Very happy. 7-10 would be really good for the Detroit Lions. I wouldn't be surprised if Okwara will take flowers. I actually wouldn't be either. I actually really like Okwara. And I really think that this team's best suited to run a 4-3 with some creativity in nickel packages where you'll see like a combination of 3 to 4 man fronts and more creative blitz packages. And this I do agree with. It may be a smokescreen. All right. My very best bets for the NFC South. I absolutely love Tampa Bay here. Oh, I can put a blue dot there. All right, we can put the blue dot there. I love Tampa Bay here. Tampa Bay is a 6.5-point favorite. A touchdown is a big number. If you're not into sports betting, 6.5 is massive. It's, all right, it's almost like some DAN. Dirty joke there. Bottom line, all right, got him. There's probably a mosquito. Normally, I wouldn't recommend betting this big of a number. However, Tampa Bay's bringing back the same scheme, the same coordinators, the same players. Dallas, there's a lot of change. Just fresh off the Super Bowl, fresh off the season, I think Raymond James Stadium is going to be filled to maximum capacity. It will be wild. Yet Dak Prescott, you don't know if he's going to be 100% or not. The offensive line had a bunch of injuries last year. All these guys are coming back. I would not bet on this because I don't bet on double-digit games, but I would be shocked if the Cowboys kept this to under double digits. I would be shocked. So Tampa Bay in 6.5 is a very, very good number. If you believe Rodgers is not going to be in Green Bay, you have to take the Saints in 2.5. I think the Saints are a very dangerous team. They're at home. They are loaded. If Rodgers is not going to be the starting quarterback, if he's not going to be the starting quarterback, you have got to take the Saints. I think he is. This right now is, in my opinion, a great bet. This is a very good number. This is a William Hill sportsbook in Iowa. So where you're betting at is going to be a little different. However, if you're going to put action, I think the Saints winning 9.5 games. Look, the last several years they've won double digits. All right. When Drew Brees has sat out the last 2 years, they have still been a winning team. They also swept Tampa Bay last year. This is a very good football team. Do not sleep on the Saints. Tampa Bay is loaded. I'm not really fond of negative 125, but this is a really, really, really good football team. This number, I think, when the season starts, I actually expect this to be 12. Right now, Kansas City's 12.5, and Tampa Bay beat Kansas City, so I'm a little surprised about that. So here we go. All right. I don't know Tampa Bay because they only returned every starter in that cut. Yeah, I mean, Tampa Bay, man, looks loaded. You can't sleep on that. The only reason I'm not really all in on Tampa Bay is that negative 125 number. I don't like the idea of wagering 125 to win 100, but 11.5, they should be at least 12-5. There's no reason to think that they won't. I mean, that's a very, very loaded football team, and you're losing Breeze for your biggest rival. And bottom line, Carolina and Atlanta are definitely not a threat this year. So I see Okura as our Trey Hendrickson. He needs to be. He needs to be. But I'm going to keep in mind, I'm going to watch a lot of Lions preseason. I want to see how they run things. Keep in mind, you're not going to see blitz packages, but I want to see how they line up. Are they using are they trying to use like a 4-man front where one person's in a 2-person stance? And I want to see how they use Okor. I also want to see how they use these rookie defensive tackles. So, yeah. Do I see 8 games, or is that a stretch? The over-under is 5, and I think 5 is solid. The Detroit Lions still have one of the worst rosters in the league, and I think you're looking at 3 really good teams in the NFC North. I'm going to break down the NFC North quite a bit, but I think in the NFC North, you're looking at 3 playoff teams in the Detroit Lions. So I would be surprised if they won more than 1 game in their division. So 8 games, 8 games is a big stretch for me. I know a lot of people are really thinking Detroit's going to have a revival, but I mean, you have probably the worst receiving core in the National Football League, a bad defense, and a very young, inexperienced coaching staff. Now, I know you got some good coordinators, and I know your offensive coordinator came from the Chargers, but Aaron Glenn's first-year coordinator. Matt Campbell, who I love. I love this guy. Dan Campbell, I'm sorry. Dan Campbell, absolutely love the guy. He's an experienced coach. This is good. Then the NFC North's a tough division. 8 is, I think, a massive stretch. William Hill has it at 5. And I think 5 is fair. That's kind of what I'm seeing. I can see the Lions upsetting the 49ers. I think there'll be a lot of teams upsetting Denver Gator. I 100% agree. That is still my number 1 bet. You can still put action on the 49ers under 10 wins at plus 130. I actually thought about driving up this weekend and putting a little bit of action down. I'm not going to, but matter of fact, they've already had some injuries in training camp. So, yeah, absolutely. I think 49ers are going to be a bad football team. I see no way that they are not the worst team in that division. And they give up their number 1 round draft pick to the Miami Dolphins. So not a fan of the Niners. No, but the over-under for the Niners is 10. I'm telling you this right now. There's no way they win 11 games. It's almost a lock. San Francisco, I don't get what's the hype around them. They lost coaches. They've lost players. They gave way too much for a quarterback who's a project quarterback. Now, Trey Lance may be a fantastic quarterback, but how good is he going to be in 2021? And that's all I care about. I can't see 8 games, bud, and I look, 8 seems like a stretch, but if Green Bay has no quarterback, we could steal a game or 2 here or there. That I do agree with. I think if you have Jordan Love as a starting quarterback for Green Bay, I think you definitely have a chance. I think without Rodgers, I think that team's lucky to win 8 or 9. That's why if Jordan Love's a starting quarterback for Green Bay, that number's just going to go way up. It wouldn't surprise me if it goes all the way up to 6. I mean, that's a massive. But Rodgers is worth 3.5. Rodgers is worth 3.5. But yeah, I agree. That's not unrealistic at all. I think Mike's being facetious here, but this is realistic. I hate to tell you, Lions fans, this, and I got some love from the Lions, but yeah, 3-14 this year is not outside the realm of possibility. I'll be honest with you, 3 is much more likely than 8. This is a bad team that's doing a lot of different things. However, in 2022, I think you're going to be a really good team and a dangerous team. I think if you're a Lions fan, I would ignore the first couple months of the season. How do you play late in the season? Are you competitive? Are you playing better? Because if you are, then in 2022, you could be a wild card team. And you could even be better. I mean, Rodgers isn't going to be there forever. I think the Vikings are building something really good, and Chicago's a question mark. So, I mean, I need to know how they're going to do in the end of the season, but this is actually extremely realistic. One pride, come on now. You should try to get Luke in. I actually thought about it. The only reason I haven't is because I got a lot of things kind of going on outside here. That's why I'm taking the next, the next 4 weeks off, and I'm not doing any videos. Is I got a lot of stuff on the outside, in my personal life, stuff you don't need to hear about. I'm trying to grow my hair out for one. There's just so much going on. It's a lot to coordinate with somebody else. I've never brought somebody else on the show. I actually, what I might do is I'm going to do the rest of these just on my own. But I do want to get Luke's impact. I think he's a lot higher on the Lions than I am. Luke's also been extremely generous and let me come on twice. And we might have to do a disagreement video. So, but I actually toyed around with doing that, and I got his number. I haven't called him in a while, but we communicate via a direct message on Twitter. And if you're not a fan of the Luke G Field Review, please subscribe to his channel. Great guy. Big Lions fan, and he does a lot of Detroit stuff, but he's been talking a lot of Lions. I haven't had a chance to listen to his show because he has it when I'm like on the last couple hours of my shift. And if I listen to his show, I can't get any work done. So Denver, if that defense gets healthy and stays healthy, and Jimmy G tends to play well, if he's healthy, man, healthy is going to be exactly. He needs to stay healthy just for them to have a chance. But look at what's going on with the Rams and the Cardinals. And Seattle's quietly gotten better this offseason. And they were at one point, Wilson was MVP candidate for the first half of the season. And then, it just started to go down. But, I mean, if Seattle stays healthy, the offensive line's better, that's a dangerous football team. Then you have, of course, you got Stafford, so they went ahead and improved in the quarterback position. Of course, Stafford has to stay healthy. And then J.J. Watt and some other pieces have gone into Arizona. So Arizona, I mean, honestly, I think Arizona is kind of a question mark, but a lot of people are really convinced that that's a Super Bowl contender. I am not. But there's a lot of things that to like about the Arizona Cardinals. So, I don't see a way San Francisco doesn't finish dead last in this division, but if Jimmy G plays well, they can run the ball like they did when they went to the Super Bowl, and that defense can overcome losing their defensive coordinator and play well, then yeah. I do like Lance. I want to be very clear. I just don't think he's ready to start week one. And if you're going to trade that much draft capital, you want to be ready sooner than later. So, I actually do like this game. I'm probably not going to put action on the Lions to win straight up, but it wouldn't surprise me. Excuse me. It wouldn't surprise me if the Lions win that game. Would not surprise me at all. They're not Super Bowl contenders, but are they better than they were last year? Maybe. John Johnson was a big loss for them. John Johnson was a very big loss for them. Aaron Donald needs to play superhuman, and Stafford needs to prove that he can stay healthy. If he stays healthy, then there's a lot of good things to like about the Rams. Do I think that they're a Super Bowl contender? No, I do not. I haven't done it yet, but when I do break down the NFC West, I probably will have Seattle to win the division. So right now, I've done the AFC and NFC South, AFC and NFC East. Next week, I'm going to do the AFC North. So we'll do the AFC North next week. And that'll be a fun one because I'm looking forward to breaking down Baltimore and Cleveland. Pittsburgh's still very interesting. And then you still have Cincinnati, who's all these are kind of going to be fun teams to break down. I haven't had a chance even to look at the over-unders. The only over-under I've looked for is Cleveland because they play Kansas City week 1. And that's actually going to be a really good game. I think it'll be a much better game. Well, I'm biased because the Chiefs will win. And we'll talk about that next week. But I've only done 4, and then after I finish all that, I'll probably with the 4 videos will go into July because I'm only doing a live stream once a week. So what will happen is when I start breaking down the teams, we'll talk a little more about the individual teams, and I want to get your opinion. Plus, there'll be more free agency stuff, much more trade talks. I didn't get the Atlanta Falcons after the trade numbers. I just got the Julio Jones trade information. Oh, never mind. I'm not sharing my screen. So, yeah. So I'm halfway through the list. I'm going to go through 4 more, and then I'm going to start talking about the teams because starting in July, training camp will be right around the corner. And then I will get some into the nitty gritty. If I go to Vegas to kick off the NFL season, we'll see what happens. But if I do kick off the NFL season in Vegas, I won't have a show Wednesday before the Tampa Bay Dallas game. If I'm still here, then I'll start the live streams Wednesday and Friday, just like it is during the regular season. We'll have 2 live streams. And then please give me a thumbs up. It helps the algorithm. All my social media should be linked below. You can follow me on social media. Plus, share this video with your friends. I'm trying to get up to 750 subscribers before the regular season starts. And what I'm going to do is next couple of weeks, I'm just doing a live stream. I'm not doing anything with YouTube, but after the 4th of July, I'm going to focus a lot on trying to build up my YouTube channel. Just try to get just a few new subscribers. 750 subscribers is not a lot. It would be exactly 77 more. So please share this content with your friends, because I'm giving you advice to win some money. And it's also advice I'm going to take, because before the season starts, whether it's in Iowa or in Vegas, I am going to put some action down. You'll see firsthand what I'm doing. So, and I'm going to make a profit this year. This is a good year to make profit on football. So if you're new to sports betting, take advantage. This is going to be a good year to make some money. Pride, in my opinion, week 1, the travel means next to nothing midseason, or if you're short, we have some impact. It means something. I think week 1 this year is going to be a lot more influential. I think the crowds will be a lot more energized, and I think it'll really have an effect. I think certain cities will have a home field advantage. Kansas City, for example, will play Cleveland week 1. I think that will be a home field advantage. I know Arrowhead will be rocking. I am not going to be there. That's a side note, but me and my dad talked. We're not going out to the games anymore. I think Detroit could be really rowdy. Trying to think of some other teams that could have some really big advantages. Maybe the New York stadiums. But there's going to be a few teams that are going to have advantage. Tampa Bay, that stadium, I think will be rocking. You have the Super Bowl and everything. So, yeah. It was fun. I liked it, and I can vouch for Mike that he is not offended. Hopefully he's not. He's been great here. So. Yeah, the fans could have an impact, but going to let it. But is Gretsch going to let it happen? The way I understand it is, I think there's going to be a few exceptions, but I think fans are going to be in all 32 stadiums. And we'll touch base on that as time comes along. The Rams lost way too many players and coaches to be great. We'll have flashes of great but mediocre. The key with the Rams is that they have, I think it's like 108 or 106, somewhere between 105 and 110 million for 6 players. All right. The other players that they're getting are rookies, players at the end of their deals, and they're counting a lot on their left tackle, and I'm drawing a complete blank on his name. One of my favorite players, but he'll start the season at 39. December he turns 40, and you got to have him play at a Pro Bowl caliber level. And then Aaron Donald has to play superhuman. Leonard Floyd had a great year last year, came back that up. Losing Johnson was a big loss. A big loss, and they got to figure a way out to replace him. They got to figure a way to replace him. And the West is a tough division. If everybody stays healthy, the Rams can play with anybody. They really can. But all their players have got to stay healthy. All right. All their players have got to stay. That Stafford, if he goes down, that team's going to be bad. Aaron Donald goes down, that team's going to win. Let's say Aaron Donald doesn't play this year. How many games does this team win? 7, 10, 9? So, yeah. She says, that's the way I understand it. Thank you, Funk. Yeah, I agree. I really do. I think that, and he's talking about the Rams. I agree completely. And Funk, I think Big Doofus. Mike's favorite teams are Tampa Bay, Buffalo. Jacksonville's your fourth favorite. God, your third's the Chiefs. So Mike is a big Chiefs fan. He likes Buffalo, but he likes the Chiefs more. And he was really mad that the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl to Tampa Bay. So I think I got that right, Mike. Are you sure that's what she said, or she say we're going mask free? All right. Kansas City is where I live at, has been mask free, but there's still a lot of mask wearing around. Kind of want to get into that debate. It's not really, kind of my place. However, I will say this: if you are wearing a mask while watching this show, you are allowed to, because we live in America. I don't think he's going to play. Okay, let me refer. I don't think he's going to start early, but the Bears start to tank. You may have to put him in. I'm more questionable about your boy playing left tackle, and that's a big one. And I'm drawing a blank. Oklahoma State kid. That's a tough one. Dan, get people on. Yeah, I do, and the only reason I haven't is because it's kind of hard to coordinate. I have a full-time job. I work overtime. I have a part-time job, and then I do this, and then I'm trying also to drop some weight that I picked up over the winter. So I unfortunately my schedule's been stretched thin. That's why I'm kind of taking a couple weeks off just from YouTube completely. Once I start doing my weekly videos, I'm going to try to reach out to more fan bases and try to get people on the show. UCF Jaguar, he hasn't been in the last couple of weeks, but I've been watching a lot of his stuff. He's had a lot of videos on the Jaguars. I would love to be able to have like a one-on-one with him, because there's a lot of hype around Jacksonville, and deservedly so. But let's be honest. What are they going to win? 6-7 games? Come on. Yeah, I do. There's a lot of things I really need to do. I just wish I had more time. And I'm taking time off from YouTube now. In July, I'm going to get on. Luke did promise he would come on my show if I asked. I haven't talked to him in a while, but every time I've made some comments in his show, he always posts them up, just like I'm doing your comment now. And it's always promoted my channel, and we get along pretty well. And no idea what he looks like. No idea what he looks like. I imagine he looks like his icon, though. I can't wait to have fans in the stands. Bring a home field advantage. Last year was depressing. A lot of home underdog teams fired up with their team. Yeah, I wonder how it's going to affect. I think week 1's going to be a big deal. Like, I expect Tampa Bay to have an advantage over Dallas. Keep in mind, you have Dak Prescott coming back from an injury, brand new defense. And then also having the experienced team, I think that's going to help a lot. I think Kansas City with their fans, I can attest to this. If I remember right, Buffalo, I know they played Pittsburgh. I think it's in Buffalo. That's a team that's going to have a big home field advantage. I actually think Detroit may have a nice advantage week 1. If I remember right, Denver plays on the road week 1. I honestly would have to look it up, but here, let me just do this real fast here. Sorry, wrong button. in these week 1 games here, real fast, the only team, I think the Saints could have a massive home field advantage if it's Jordan Love's first game. This is big. I don't expect Carolina or Atlanta to have really big home field advantages, but Tampa Bay will. So, and what the hell did I just do? Okay. All right. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Denver, the stadiums are going to be nuts. The Lions better beat the Bengals. Bengals may be better than you think. The Bengals may be better than you think. Is the NFC West overrated? I don't think so. I think Seattle is really good. I think Seattle's underrated. And then the Rams and the Cardinals may be overrated. The 49ers are, but Seattle went 12-4 last year and then choked in the playoffs. They fired their offensive coordinator. They've made some small free agent acquisitions. They've improved their offensive line. DK Metcalf has grown tremendous leaps and bounds. I think that he'll actually improve quite a bit. He has a lot to improve on. A lot of people look at the big plays and see that he's already arrived. He still has room to get better. Russell Wilson's still, definitely a top 10 quarterback. How good you think he is up to you. There's a lot of things to like about Seattle. If you're a fan of an NFC team that's going to the playoffs, Tampa Bay, let's just say Tampa Bay or the Saints, or let's just say you're a Cowboys fan just for fun. I would be very afraid of Seattle, because here's the thing, if Seattle has a mediocre defense, just a mediocre defense, that's a 12, 13, 14 win team. They've, since Russell Wilson's taken over as starter, they've won double digits every single year except for one. One Pride 40, the Lions game. I won't warn. I will say this. I know Mike is just kind of, well, maybe the Bengals are a team that's a little dangerous. I don't expect them to make the playoffs or anything, but they're a team that is going to be better. The question is, Burrow, is he going to come back healthy? The changes in their offensive line, is it enough? And then Jamar Chase, he could be a superstar. So there's some good things there. Denver, Detroit, KC, Seattle, New Orleans, New England, Chicago, Cleveland, Pitt, Minnesota have great home field advantages this year. Yeah, I agree with all these. Quietly, which used to be a massive home field advantage, and it hasn't been the last couple of years, is Miami. And the reason why is that on the field, it'll be like 125 degrees and humid. And I don't remember. They play New England week 1. I think it's in Miami. So that it's just the temperature itself is going to be a home field advantage for the first part of the season. So yeah. Whitworth, that's the Rams left tackle, and yeah, he'll be 40 in December if I remember correctly, and he's still playing at high level. But they don't have a contingency plan. If Whitworth goes down, Stafford, who's had problems staying healthy, is in jeopardy, and it's not a good plan. If you have just a handful of superstars and a bunch of rookies and free agents, like rookie free agents, and it's not a good blueprint. Dallas did this for years and it didn't work. So, take a look at Tampa Bay. Now, yes, they do have Tom Brady. They do got Mike Evans. They do not Ndamukong Suh, but they got a lot of players that are really good, solid players. They got a couple linebackers that maybe the best 2 inside linebackers in that 3-4 defense in football. You can argue that, but are they definitely top 5? Yeah. Devin White's a monster. Levante David, I have no idea how Tampa kept him. Young, talented players on the edge, and most importantly, they kept their coaches. So yeah. Denver with the 49ers. Oh, really? I'm telling you right now, as long as it stays positive, I'm putting action on the 49ers over 10. So yeah. My favorite 4 to watch this year: Denver, Jacks, Lions, and whoever plays the Chiefs. This is because Denver Gator is a massive Chiefs fan. Yeah. These are going to be 4 fun teams to watch. These are going to be 4 very fun teams to watch. Yeah. Oh, wait, Denver, you saying Denver has a team? Oh, man, fuck. Yes. Honestly, they're talking about starting Fields week 1. Yeah, and you'll keep hearing it won't happen. I can tell you this because Matt Nagy was here in Kansas City. Very smart guy, extremely complex offense. It was a very basic offense they ran at Ohio State. No matter what they tell you, no matter what they tell you about the progressions, no, he's not. Now, let me tell you something. Is there a chance that he plays a series or 2? Or heaven forbid an injury happens in preseason? Could they just say, you know what, forget it, we'll just do what the Dallas Cowboys did a couple years ago when Dak Prescott had to step in for Tony Romo and just run a college offense, try to win games with great defense, which Dallas didn't have, but the Bears do. But I don't see that happening. I mean, you're going to go with Dalton. I mean, he's going to know the system. Foles, he's going to be the backup. Maybe compete for the starting job. Doubtful. But I don't care. I don't care what you hear from them. And by the way, you want to hear stuff like this because by the way, did you know Fields is like the number 3 selling jersey in the league right now? I had no idea. Somebody told me this on Instagram, thought it was a lie, but yeah. Whitworth on the 12. Denver away at the Giants. That's right. That is going to be an advantage. New York's going to be a wild place to be. And you have a bunch of youth on that team. And that defense the Giants have is loaded. It's going to be a fun game. That's actually going to be quietly a very, very good team because it could very easily be 2 playoff teams. Watching the documentary, The Best Ever Do It, Lombardi, yes. Sounds like desperation from it kind of does in a way, but apparently him and Goff had a lot of issues. So that's another thing. When I used to go to Bucks games, there definitely is a home field advantage for at least the first 6 games, running full speed in the 90s, that humidity, and the mile high advantage is real. No, oh yeah, couldn't breathe. The first time I went to Denver, I heard about it. I knew about it. I'm a football junkie. I heard about the mile high thing. And then when I was there, I was like, oh my God, I was in shock. I was blown away. And I've heard this from different players. I've heard it takes like over a year to get acclimated, and your body does adjust, but it's hard to adjust just for that, just for that one game. Very hard to adjust. And Miami used to, a long time ago when they had a really good team, they used to go undefeated like every September. It was always like they were always started off every year 3 under Shula. That's how long ago it was. They'd start every season 3-0, 4-0. But Florida in early September, it is brutally hot. It is extremely difficult, especially like New England coming down to Miami. It's going to be difficult. It is going to be very difficult. You can't prepare for that type of heat plus the humidity. It's thick. It's like soup. It's like you're breathing soup. It doesn't matter. You could take like a whole tub of water and it like almost does nothing for you. The humidity is thick. It's oppressive. And a matter of fact, I remember one Dolphins game. It was like they showed the field as like 125 on the field. Like that's almost hot enough that your organs shut down. It is brutal. I remember one year the Chiefs. The Midwest, you never know. It may be 130, it may be 14. You never know what's going to be like. But we played the Vikings one year. It was when Herschel Walker was the year after he got traded, and I remember we had Christian Okoye and Marty Schottenheimer ran him like 35 times. And on the field, it was like 125. And the Vikings players, used to the dome, they were just falling apart. So, yeah, there definitely is an advantage the first couple of days in Florida. When I step outside on a Sunday morning, I can tell the Dolphins will do, depending on the heat, humidity, some north. 100% correct, Mike. 100% correct. Matter of fact, if I'm correct, the Patriots come down to Miami week one. And if the temperature is really humid and hot, even though the Patriots are a well-coached team, the Dolphins will wear the white jerseys. It will have an advantage. I might have to hit you up and see if I want to put action on Miami. But yeah, absolutely. And it'll be like that. New England will be more prepared than most teams. But yeah, there'll be some teams that come down to Miami have no chance. It's a tough thing to get over. Just so you know, Denver, Rod Smith, and Steve Atwater, two of my favorite players of all time. Rod Smith, it's kind of funny. He went to a small college here in Missouri, undrafted free agent, now in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Really great player. Really great player. Very, very underrated. Atwater, really great safety, had that famous hit on Christian Okoye. I didn't know they actually still are really great friends to this day, Christian Okoye and Steve Atwater. Oh, wow. Some will say the relationship broke when Goff said he would pipe Sean. I did not hear this. I did. Oh, my God. Mike, you're so right. That's why the best college football is played. That is 100% true. I have been saying that since the 90s, and people argued that this was during the height of Nebraska, when Nebraska had like 3 out of 4 national championships, and I would tell people the best college football is played in the SEC. No, it's not. It's here in the Big 12. You got Nebraska, and then later it was K-State was doing really good, and yeah, the SEC always has the best college football. So. Mike, didn't your Dolphins lose a game on the Lions when Patricia was head coach? All right, a little trash talk here. Humidity so bad, Tampa Bay quarterback Brad Johnson used to change his pants at halftime, made the center do the same. And you know what the funny thing is, Brad Johnson went to college at Florida State. So even if you go to college, I think if I remember right, and I could be wrong, I think Brad Johnson played high school football out of state. I want to say it's somewhere like Colorado. It could be really wrong. He actually didn't even start at Florida State. It was Casey Weldon. They had some great teams he was a part of as a backup. Casey Weldon wasn't even drafted. Brad Johnson was. Casey Weldon, I think, I know he was in Philly for like a year or two, but yeah. All right, little trash talk here. It's kind of funny. Denver, part of it, but I thinks it's because if kids had a choice to live in Florida over Minnesota, most people take Florida, so the talent is going south. Absolutely. There's a lot of guys that go and they'll choose it. I think that's a little part of it, but bottom line, if you're a 4-star or a 5-star player and you got your choice to play in the SEC versus another conference, you're going to play in the SEC because you'll just get more coverage. There's more scouts that go to games. There's more opportunity to play against NFL caliber talent. That's kind of the reason why Alabama, even though they recruit mostly in the South, they recruit, worldwide. That's why, same thing with Georgia. Georgia has a lot of players from all over the world. All over the United States. But yeah, that's part of it. That's why, in the Big 12, where I am, that's why KU and K-State had really bad football teams for a long time, because how do you convince a 4-star player from Texas to come play in the Kansas City area? It's a very hard sell. So, I mean, that's why, it's easier for Texas to recruit kids. It's easier for, the southern states to recruit kids. So, yeah. It's part of it, but a very small part, a very, very small part. Oh, this is a good one. Who is better, Lombardi or Belichick? In my opinion, it's kind of like debating what's a better flavor. I might I like Rocky Road, for example. Okay. Rocky Road is better than vanilla, but you ask somebody else the same question, they'll tell you vanilla is better than Rocky Road. Both are two of the greatest of all time. Both brought innovative change into the league. And it's actually funny, if you ever watched Lombardi's Redskins, there's a very good chance Lombardi would have turned the Redskins into a dynasty. That may have been the team of the 70s if Lombardi didn't die. Me personally, I will say Belichick. But you can't go wrong. you can't go wrong. I wouldn't say that Belichick is head and shoulders. I would just have him as 1A and 1B. Who's the best coach in National Football League today, right now? I will say Belichick, even though last year was not a good year. But who's better? I'll say Belichick by a hair, maybe, and I might change my mind tomorrow. So, One Pride 40, very close in my opinion. Okay. Okay, I lost track. McVay want to move on from golf because the last 2 seasons, golf had one of the worst QBRs in completion percentage when the team uses pre-snap motion. McVay likes pre-snap motion, gives the quarterback a chance to read. There's friction between the two, and yes, he does like to use pre-snap motion. It's actually an Andy Reid trick. I don't think he got it directly from Andy Reid, but Shanahan also used a lot of that. For those of you that don't know, Mike Shanahan. Actually, here's the truth. McVay learned. He got his first coaching gig in Tampa Bay under John Gruden. Then he became the offensive coordinator for the Washington, at the time, Redskins under Mike Shanahan. And he kind of developed his own offense, which is, to tell you the truth, it's a lot like a college offense. You know, the wide receivers run on end arounds, and he kind of built his own thing, which is really genius. But yeah, him and Goff did not see eye to eye, and there was a lot of friction between the two. And I think that Goff, a California kid, kind of his laid back demeanor. He's on a video where he puts on a tattoo a neck tattoo, and he goes to a junior college, and he starts just like doing all sorts of goofy stuff. Like, he talks to the starting quarterback. He's like, "Hey man, run some routes for me. You're the receiver, right?" And he's just really does a lot of really silly and goofy things, but it's funny. And you can tell he's got laid back personality. McVay's polar opposite. And I think that's a lot to do with it. And yeah, it's my neighbors. They suck. So yeah. The personalities, I think Stafford will work a lot better in that offense, but Stafford has to stay healthy. So it'll be interesting to see how the Rams operate this year, because the ceiling could be Super Bowl. They could also fall apart, have just 1 or 2 injuries, and be a 6-7 win team. So Chuck Noll or Lombardi? Oh, this is a very good one. Chuck Noll, I think, is one of the most underrated coaches of all time. A lot of you don't remember this, but the Steelers were a garbage franchise. They were a garbage team. Arguably became the best dynasty in history in the National Football League. That's debatable. But he actually, to tell you the truth, his best coaching jobs was in the early 80s, where he took some Steelers teams to the playoffs that were just not very good. So Chuck Noll, easily a top 10 coach of all time. I have Chuck Noll rated a lot higher than most. I'll have Lombardi over Noll by hair. Maybe more, like, not really a hair, but like, this much. So, answer to the best coach debate: Shula, talk amongst yourselves. That is a good one. It's hard to debate Don Shula. And the thing is, which is really great about Don Shula, is he won. He went to 3 consecutive Super Bowls. Of course, he lost Super Bowl 3 as a head coach of the Baltimore Colts. Got fired. I think it was the next year. And then, the Colts won Super Bowl 5. Shula took Miami, which was an expansion team, a disaster, got them into a Super Bowl after 2 years, got them Super Bowl 6, lost to the Doomsday defense. And it's kind of interesting the way football happened was that Dallas lost Super Bowl 5, won Super Bowl 6, and then Miami lost Super Bowl 6, went undefeated, and won Super Bowl 7, won Super Bowl 8, came very close to being a 3-time winning team. They lost in the famous Sea of Hands game in Oakland, and then Oakland kept on finishing in second place over and over and over again, and then they finally won Super Bowl 9 and went back to the AFC Championship game, lost to your Denver Broncos, and of course Dallas Cowboys under Staubach ended up winning that Super Bowl. But Shula had some of the greatest running teams of all time. Then they draft Dan Marino, and he says, screw it, let's just throw the ball everywhere. So his metamorphosis from a power run team to one of the best passing offenses of all time in the 80s was genius. All-time winningest coach, top 10 easy. If you want to say top 5, I'd listen to you. I have him below Noel, believe it or not. It depends on how much you want to put longevity into it. I might, you know what? I'd have to think about Shula and Noel. I could argue both ways, to be honest with you. Defenses, and that's one reason I'm not a Goff fan. It'll be interesting to see what he does in Detroit, because that defense I don't expect to be good. Denver Gators surely only won 2 Super Bowls in 30 years. That is true, but all-time winningest coach, tons of winning seasons. And in Miami, he also had some bad luck. I remember they had David Overstreet. Looked like he was going to be a superstar running back to go with Marino. Next year died. I don't remember the exact situation, but then, of course, Buffalo had that run where they were almost unstoppable in the playoffs. Of course, couldn't win a Super Bowl, but that anybody who thinks that Buffalo team's not a dynasty is crazy. I just remember, like, you went up to Buffalo and you were going to lose no matter what. That team was amazing. And yeah, Miami couldn't beat them. They had some good teams. They had some really good teams, just wasn't as good. So Shula does deserve some credit. All-time winningest coach. Probably will stay the all-time winningest coach. But yeah, I mean, just because he only won 2, I still think he deserves credit as one of the greatest of all time. Lombardi, all-time great, grandfather of NFL. Noel definitely top 4 of all time. He won 4 with Bradshaw. Trash and Bradshaw's a lot better than you think. The reason why is that because he had this great defense, he didn't care if he threw interceptions. It was all of his interceptions were more calculated than you thought. They're all 20, 30, 40 yards downfield. And the one thing you have to understand is they had this massive offensive line. They had a really good running game. So let's say he did throw a 40-yard interception. Who cares? It's like a punt. And then I got the greatest defense in the NFL. So even though it was sloppy and wouldn't happen in today's game, it wasn't as bad as you think. And one thing about Bradshaw is that, in the Super Bowl, he did play some pretty damn good football. I think people forget how really good Bradshaw is because you look at the numbers and look at the picks, but lots of people do agree with you. I'm on the opposite. I actually think very highly of Bradshaw. McVay literally is the reason Goff got paid. Agnew was against paying him totally. I did not know that. I know that they were on board early in his career, and in the last 2 years, it just started to kind of break apart. If you want to talk dynasties, there's a few good ones, but if you're measuring stick, Bill has to be the guy. That's who I have. I have Belichick as the best, and anybody else is below. And if you want to argue Lombardi, I can't say no, but I personally would have Belichick over Lombardi personally. Yeah, 30-year is a long time for only 2 rings. I think Belichick has like 40 more wins to press his record. Okay, and here's what you have. Okay. Belichick may do it. Belichick may do it. I mean, that's really not unrealistic, especially with 17. You could do it in 3 years. So it's definitely possible. A lot of people forget Belichick, if I'm correct, it's like 69. I actually thought he would retire by now, but I think that he wants to coach another couple of years. So Terry Bradshaw was bad. A lot of people say that. He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He won 4 Super Bowls. He never lost. A lot of people say that because he threw, I think it's just as many or more interceptions than touchdowns. Back then, he didn't care. It was really, really calculated, to be honest, because he threw into double coverage deep downfield, and it was like a punt. And who cares? I have the world's greatest defense behind me. I have one of the best offensive lines of all time, the greatest center of all time, at least. And I have a Hall of Fame running back in Franco Harris. And then I got one of the greatest duos of all time. So it really, it's not it's not like when he threw a pick, it wasn't really like it is today, where like you throw an interception, it was a bad thing. Back when he played, it was not a big deal. You threw a pick, no big deal. It was like a punt. So, yeah, Bradshaw was a gunslinger. He set a national high school record as a javelin thrower, and just look back some of the throws. I mean, he could throw the ball 60, 70 yards downfield. I actually think at today's game he would be awesome. So, and he is very funny as a commentator. Very, very funny. Ooh, this is a good one. One Pride 40S. Where would I rank Jimmy Johnson? Where is a good one? It's hard because his career was short. I will say this: Jimmy Johnson was a lot more responsible for the Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl than Jerry Jones. As an all-time great, because he only coached for a couple of years, it's really, really hard to say. I wouldn't put him up in the elite caliber coaches, but I had a guy who was a giant Cowboys fan, and he loved Landry. He said he thought Jimmy was better than Landry. That's hard to say. I wouldn't put him above Landry, because you have a long career versus a short career. Anytime you talk all-time greats, longevity has to be part of that equation. At least it is with me, because I know people that don't think Brett Favre is that good of a quarterback. I'm like, dude, the dude played 347 games. So yeah. Do you have to call him a great coach? The answer is yes. Like I see Mike down there. But bottom line, he didn't coach that long in the NFL. So where can I put him? I don't put him in the elite status, but he's really good. He should have more credit than Jerry Jones, and it's really the other way around. So yeah. Bradshaw was great. He refused to lose. You can't. Here's the thing, Mike. A lot of people will argue with you, but shouldn't. You have to understand is that you can look at the numbers, but it was so different back then. His interceptions were calculated. It was like a punt. You're putting the other team 40 yards downfield against the greatest defense of all time. That's a win. And that Steelers defense was arguably the greatest defense of all time. Yeah. My boy Tim, what's up, man? Tim asked, hey, I know I'm getting on late, but a little all sports talk. My brother lives out in Vegas, and he's saying the A's will be out there in a couple of years. Vegas will have four sports. I have been hearing this a lot, Tim. For those of you who don't know, the Oakland Athletics, the baseball team, the Vegas has been making a push to get them to come into Vegas. And I think it's actually going to happen very, very soon. Very, very soon. No, I agree with you. As a matter of fact, I actually friended your brother on Facebook because I'm going to try to move out to Henderson maybe next year. And I might need his help unpacking. So I've already accepted his friend request. Actually, I sent him a friend request. He accepted. So, yeah. Yeah. So I actually fell in love with Henderson. Actually, to tell you the truth, I liked Henderson. And then what's the other place outside of Vegas people are very high on? But Henderson was my favorite. So I might be moving out there very soon. As you can hear from my neighbors upstairs, I hate living here. 85 Bears or the 2000 Ravens. 85 Bears. That 2000 Ravens defense was fantastic. What was his name? Jamal Adams. The running back for the Ravens was so good. Oh, God, he was so good. But, yeah, I would take the Bears. Swan and Stallworth are Moss and Pete before Moss ever touched the football. Swan and Stallworth are very good. Stallworth grossly underrated. The dude was big. He was strong. He was fast. Swan made all the highlight reel stuff, so Stallworth was really overlooked. One of the biggest tragedies was that Swan and Stallworth weren't able to enter the Hall of Fame at the same time. So, yeah. I love Bradshaw, just gunslinging, good old boy, great character. Yeah. Yeah. And I love him on TV. I love Bradshaw on TV. JJ won college and pros 6 rings. Actually, I think it's 4. I think it was 2 at the University of Miami. And it was funny because what happened was he got passed up in Arkansas for Lou Holtz. So he took the Oklahoma State job. And then he didn't want to go to Miami. And then I forget who it was. Somebody really famous came up to him. He's like, what are the odds that you're going to take Oklahoma and beat Texas and OU at the time? And he's like, well, I can't do it. I just can't get the players. He goes, in Miami, you could, because he would be replacing, if I remember right, he was directly replacing Howard Schnellenberger. And they were just recruiting a ton of people at that time. And so he kind of rode that train and then, rode it to the NFL. But I think the answer is 4. How about Parcells got to be top 10? I think so. I would put I've never made a list of top 10 coaches, but if you have a list of top 10 coaches of all time, Parcells isn't on the list. It's probably not a good list. I think much more highly of Parcells than most. I don't think it's a negative that he didn't stay at places for a long time. I think it's just one of those things. He knew what he wanted to do. But that Super Bowl against the Bills, that was a great win. Taking the Patriots to the Super Bowl when they lost against Green Bay, that was actually brilliant. Remember, that team was really bad, and he just turned that team around. He took a team that had the number 1 pick in the draft, and I think 3 years later won a Super Bowl. This is before free agency was the way it was. That job he did in New England was brilliant, really underrated. So, yeah. I think it's 4, to be honest with you. Yeah, Parcells, yeah. Rex Ryan is another guy I think is a pretty solid dude, got a lot out of a little. One of the greatest defensive coordinators of all time, Rex Ryan, yeah. Do you mean Rex or Buddy? Maybe you meant Buddy. Nah, Rex got the butt fumble guy. I love Rex Ryan. I wish he would come back to coaching, even as a coordinator. But I don't think he would come back unless he was a head coach. Can't stand the Chiefs, Tim, but the logo. Yeah, the logo is cool. Do you mean the Chiefs logo or Tim's logo? Both are pretty cool. Summerlin, that's it, is the really good suburb out there. Ryan is actually in town this weekend, LOL. But yes, he will help unpack. Just don't become a Raiders fan. No, I won't, but I've always had a lot of respect for the Raiders organization, believe it or not. And I actually liked what they were doing. And then this offseason, I was kind of but they're doing a lot better than people think. And I'll talk about the AFC West last. The logo, okay. His logo is pretty cool. His logo is, and he doesn't do a lot on Twitter, but I believe it's Veg Ace, like Vegas Ace. Does a lot on Facebook. Posts a lot of pictures of his dog. So, but all my social medias blow, and I got Tim and I got Denver Gator here. So the 80s Steelers was a legit Madden team back in the day. I think he means 70s, but I get you. Dang, the best players were playing before I was born. The greatest running back of all time was playing before I was born, and that's Jim Brown. That is not a debate. And I'm going to end it there because I've been going on for about 2 hours, and because of the energy drink and the coffee, I have really got to pee. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. But listen, guys, please give me a thumbs up. Give a thumbs up for the video. Please, please, please share this video with your friends. I'm giving out some really, really good information. If you are into sports betting, I am going to help you make some money this year, starting July 7th. As you can see on the scroll below, I'm going to start breaking down the NFL teams, starting with Jacksonville, because I'm going to go in draft order. So One Pride 40 is high as a kite. And good night, everyone. Great therapy session. Denver Gator, thank you for joining. And I will see you guys back next Friday, 7:15 Central Standard Time. See you guys next week.